Hello, welcome to MCN. We're at Portimao today. We've been riding CFMoto's new 675SR-R around the racetrack. It's raining now, but it's been dry earlier. But before I tell you how we got on, let's run through what makes this bike tick. This is CFMoto's first ever 3-cylinder engine. The 675cc inline triple, which also powers the naked 675NK version, makes 87 bhp at 11,000 rpm and 50 pound-foot of torque at 8,250 rpm in Euro 5 trim. Non-Euro versions that don't need to adhere to such tight emission controls have juicier engine maps and make slightly more power and torque, up to 93 bhp and 52 pound-foot of torque. CFMoto claims 137 mph top speed and 0 to 62 mph in 3.6 seconds. Rider aids come in the form of ABS and a 2-stage plus off traction control system. A quick shifter is also available as an accessory. It's hard not to draw comparisons with the two other great 3-cylinder sports bikes of recent times, MV Agusta's F3 675 and the Triumph Daytona 675. With its 72mm by 55mm bore and stroke dimensions, the CFMoto is less square than the Revia Triumph and the even Revia MV. It also makes less power than both, but more torque than the MV. The triple is mounted in a tubular steel frame with an aluminium banana style swing arm. It has fully adjustable KYB suspension, J Juan radial brakes and a colour dash that's as clear and crisp as you'll find on any top level European sports bike. And you could never accuse CFMoto's designers of being conservative. The SRR's sculpted bodywork is a riot of race inspired slots, scoops, strakes and aero. So you can have all of that 3-cylinder loveliness for just £6,699, which is the bargain of the century for a supersport bike. Not only that, you get a 4-year warranty, you get a year's free roadside assistance, and then you keep getting a year's free roadside assistance for the next 8 years if you keep on servicing your CFMoto at a regular dealer at regular intervals. So we've been riding the CFMoto around Portimao for a good chunk of time. One of my sessions was half-hour long, and I tell you what, I never really used to like Portimao that much because I've only really ridden it on a superbike and it's hard work. But on this thing, it's a lot of fun. The best thing you can say about it, if you just ignore the price for a minute, because the price is a big factor to why people are going to be really interested in this bike, it's a fantastic bike. Does it feel Chinese? No, it doesn't. That's probably the biggest compliment you can give. It doesn't feel built down to a price, it doesn't feel heavy, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the bike. It does everything it should do, and it does everything really, really well. To sit on, it feels like a very conventional supersport bike. Hands down, bum up, quite cramped pegs, but it is relatively neutral when it comes to sports bikes. It's not an uncomfortable bike. The bars are quite widely splayed, so you've got a lot of room to move around. And to kind of sit on and to look at, it looks far more MV Agusta F3 675 than a Triumph 675 Daytona. You know, just from the shape of the tank, the way the top yokes are, the little plaque in the top yoke saying what the bike is. All the little styling cues remind me of an MV, and to be honest, the quality is there as well. The paint finishes are really good. You know, you kind of have a prod around the bike and there's nothing built down to a price. There's no horrible nuts and bolts. There's no horrible steel parts. Everything's kind of made with care, and you know, it's really impressive. In terms of dishing out super sport fun, well, it definitely ticks all the boxes. It is as fun as a super sport bike. Maybe it hasn't got quite the punch and quite the power, because it's a little bit down on power compared to an inline 4 600 or even Ducati's Panigale V2, but it is a lot of fun around the track. You can absolutely wring its neck, it handles beautifully, and you can do lap after lap really without breaking a sweat. And you know, it's quite refreshing. Not only does 2025 seem to be the year of the affordable bike, with things like the Honda CB1000 Hornet, things like the Honda GB 350, and everything in between. You know, 2025 has got quite a lot of good value bikes in it, and also kind of the resurgence of normal powered motorbikes. Let's just hope this silly power race where bikes are producing 190, 200 bhp, including adventure bikes and all the rest of it, you don't need that much power. You know, what this has got, almost 90 bhp, is a beautiful amount to have fun around the track. You might get smoked by an R6, but it's a lot of fun to ride. In terms of its raw speed, it is fast. The engine spins up really quickly. It feels nice and revvy, free revving. It's got good acceleration out of the corners. It's got good grunt. And when you tuck down behind that little tiny screen, you could do with a bit of a bigger one, it doesn't hang around at all. And it sings up and down through the gears. The gearbox is nice and crisp. The up and down quick shifter that's fitted to this bike works absolutely flawlessly. And it's a fantastic engine. It's as much fun to ride as a Triumph, and I think it's better to ride than the old F3 675, which was always a little bit quirky. The fuel injection was never that good, and it always left you feeling a little bit cold, where this works perfectly. This works exactly as it should do. In terms of its handling on the track, well, it's very easy to move around, even for a tall rider like me. They do a higher seat and a lower seat, so I'd probably go for a higher seat to make it even more, you know, just perfect. And I think the handling is one of the standout positives on this bike. CFMoto have stiffened the suspension for the track just with a little bit of preload and a little bit of compression damping. And honestly, it feels like racing suspension with the amount of feel you've got. It's not too stiff, there's lots of control. And the best thing about it for me is the front end. You know, trailing the brakes into a corner, it feels absolutely solid, absolutely stable. Even on these CST tyres, which I've never ridden on before, I could ride around, even half hours riding, they never start getting squirmy. They never gave me any cause for concern. Trail braking, getting on the power as hard as I could. Just absolutely beautiful. And I think like a smaller track than Portimao, maybe Brands Hatch or Cadwell, I think it would be fantastic. And also, because it's not stupidly powerful, it's a nice kind of access point for newer riders to sort of move up from their A2 bikes, move up from their 400s, and really get the first taste of a supersport bike. Actually, I got the better deal of the track sessions today. These poor people are out in the wet. And just looking at the bikes there, the styling of it, I mean, the styling is fantastic with the wings and the brake shrouds. The LED lights kind of strobe when you put them on at the front, and the backlight setup reminds me a lot, especially when you're following another rider, of the old foggy FP1 Petronas road bike. In terms of how it compares to the competition, the CBR 600RR, the ZX6R, F3 800, Panigale V2, Yamaha R9, it's there or thereabouts. All of those bikes are going to have the legs on it in terms of outright power. So if you're looking for absolute lap times, you might want to go for one of those bikes, but you're going to be spending a lot more to get that extra speed. So it can't all be roses, can it? And it's not. So there's a few little things I didn't like on it. First of all, the screen is quite low, but it's quite easy to fit an aftermarket screen. The rev limiter comes in very aggressively, very harshly, and to begin with, until you kind of get comfortable with how much you should rev the engine, and you don't actually need to rev the ghoulies off of it either, because it's got so much torque. You can change quite a lot before the red line, but when you do bang into that limiter, it's quite abrupt. Also, the ground clearance wasn't great. We're scraping the pegs a lot, more the hero blobs than anything. And CFMoto said it's got those hero blobs on it because you'd scrape the exhaust without it. So kind of a good little early warning system about how far you can lean over. And if you're going to have stickier tyres, you'd have even more lean. So that's a slight problem, but easily rectified because they do rear sets as well as part of their accessory pack. And also when it comes to the electronics on track, we haven't ridden this bike on the road, the ABS is very intrusive. So hard braking, the ABS comes in, especially if you trail the back brake as well. So CFMoto disconnected the ABS for our later track sessions. And also the traction control. Traction control works really well. Didn't actually bump into it. The bike's got enough grip and quite docile power and a good chassis for it not to really want to slide the rear wheel. So I was happy with that. But it did kind of intrude in the wrong places. So there's like a 5th gear dip that comes onto the front straight here at Portimao, and it was causing the engine to kind of die with the traction control on. So we turned the traction off. Doesn't really need it, to be honest. Turn the ABS off. It doesn't need it on track. And it was absolutely delightful. So should you buy a CFMoto 675SR-R? Well, I think if you want a brand new super sport bike that does perform fantastically, that looks great, it's got all the adjustable suspension, it's got the wings, it's got all of those nice bits on, and actually makes you smile when you ride it, then absolutely. You know, if you're looking for that last little bit of power and the last bit of seriousness, or you want to go racing with them, or you want to do really good lap times, then yeah, probably you'd go for a more expensive super sport bike. But in terms of pure fun and value for money, you know, that CFMoto is really, really hard to beat. And to be honest, it's really surprised me today. I was expecting to jump on the bike and it feel a little bit unrefined, a little bit heavy. You know, that's kind of the trait of a lot of Chinese bikes, but it's really impressed me. The development team and the design team are in Europe as well as China. So they've got a base in Bologna in Italy, America. So this bike's kind of been internationally designed and internationally tested by ex-racers and experienced riders as well. So it's no surprise that it's come out so well. And I've got to say, I'm very, very impressed. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.